Welcome to my YouTube channel, TikTok channel, Instagram page, One Race, Human Race, All Human. Today is Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. If you go back and take a look at some of my YouTube videos, I talked about how African-American candidate Mandela Barnes, Democrat from Wisconsin, should have won that election. He lost by 26,000 votes. And they use a Southern strategy. That's when you get your white voters to vote against their own economic interests. And one of the points I made back then, back in September, October, well before the election, was to bring up the fact that Ron Johnson wanted to sunset Social Security. Now, it may have been brought up, but it should have been brought up across the country by all Democrats, okay? Also the plan of Rick Scott, the senator from Florida, as well as Ron Johnson, the senator from Wisconsin. And by the way, there's a memo out there, or email, where one of the Republican persons in Wisconsin said they were able to lower the people of color vote in Milwaukee specifically by about 37,000 people. And Mandela Barnes lost by what, 26,000? Also, don't forget the racist ads that they ran in Wisconsin and also in New York State, which African-American pollster Cornell Belcher, who was President Obama's pollster, talked about. And I have that also on video on YouTube as well as Instagram. So the point is, you have to bring this point home. What the president did at State of the Union was brilliant. But the Democrats need to continually do that over and over again to remind people that too many Republicans want to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The most compelling moment, most resonant moment of the last night's State of the Union speech was the performative outrage from congressional Republicans when President Biden correctly pointed out that some in their ranks want to cut or sunset Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security.
Some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion. It means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you. Look, folks, the idea is that we're not going to be moved into being threatened to default on the debt if we don't respond. Folks.
What's brilliant about this is it's a rope-a-dope, right? It's rope-a-dope. He has them all acting up, but he's telling the truth. Keep watching.
So, folks, as we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be stopped. All right. We got unanimity.
Well, a hit dog will holler, right? Republicans, like, for instance, Senator Mike Lee of Utah, performed exasperated betrayal. Look at it. Look at that face. Look at it. He's hurt even by the suggestion when Biden called him out. Senator is visibly shocked, stunned even. The president would suggest Republicans like himself would cut Social Security. You sure about that, Mike Lee? You sure about that?
I'm here right now to tell you one thing that you probably haven't ever heard from a politician. It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it.
My objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots. Sounds pretty unequivocal to me. President Biden was too polite to specifically name the other Republicans he was talking about, but, well, we're not. Senators Rick Scott of Florida and Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, those two gentlemen right there on your screen. Scott, who ran the failed Republican attempt to retake the Senate, in fact released a plan. It was written and printed and everything, which included a provision to, yes, sunset all laws, require them all to be reapproved by Congress every 5 years, including Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And here's the obvious point Republicans won't admit. If they sunset those programs, they're probably not coming back. You really think today's Republican Party, right now, would support reauthorizing a massive transformative series of social spending programs as they currently exist without gutting them, changing them, reforming them? Of course not. Scott's plan was so indefensible, even Fox News took him to task for it.
So that would raise taxes on half of Americans and potentially sunset programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Why would you propose something like that in an election year?
Sure. Well, John, that's, of course, the Democrat talking points. It's a
No,
it's
in the plan. It's in the plan.
But here's let's think about reality for a second. Let's talk about Medicare.
But Senator, hang on.
John.
So it's not a Democratic talking point. It's in the plan.
What a bizarre merry-go-round with Rick Scott.
Let me go back a second. Take a look at the date. March 27th, 2022. That's when he said that. And the Democrats had all that time to make ads, commercials, hammer it home over and over again throughout the nation. And maybe they might have won, kept the House and gained more seats in the Senate.
It's in the plan.
What a bizarre merry-go-round with Rick Scott. No one told Rick Scott he had to put out this wildly unpopular plan, but he does, and then people criticize him, and then he's all wounded and indignant that people are lying about the plan that he put out. You did it, bro. Biden was right. The jeering crowd of hecklers was wrong. In fact, many Republicans have repeatedly said they want to cut these programs either by raising the retirement age, which is effectively just a cut to benefits in practice, or by using euphemistic language like entitlement reform, which means the same thing.
If it was Matt Gaetz, I think that we do need reforms to Social Security and Medicare.
You got to turn everything into discretionary spending so it's all evaluated.
The wealthier people are going to have to take a little less in benefits. Younger people living longer, so we're going to have to adjust the age probably once again.
We can work on prioritizing defense spending, but that's really nibbling around the margins. Okay. If we really want to talk about the debt and spending, it's the entitlements program.
That was 6 weeks ago. It seemed, a month ago. That was a month ago. What's more, last year, the Republican Study Committee in the House, again, I'm not making this up, I'm just telling you the facts. That's made up of more than 150 members, put out an official budget proposal, not talking off the cuff, not on Steve Bannon's podcast, right? A proposal that someone had to draft and again, print out, put on a website that would raise the retirement age to 70. No one made them do that. This is what they want to do. It is rare a president gets to score actual political points during a State of the Union address, which is why Biden seems to have found a new favorite attack line.
They seem shocked when I raised the plans of some of their members and their caucus to cut Social Security. And Marjorie Taylor Greene and others stood up and said, liar, liar. I remind you that Rick Scott from Florida, the guy who ran the U.S. Senate campaign, has a plan. He says all federal legislation sunsets every 5 years. If a law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
Man's right, whether Republicans want to admit it or not.
And the bottom line is Democrats must use this over and over and over and over again. Hammer it home over and over again.
Which is why Biden seems to have found a new favorite attack line.
They seem shocked when I raised the plans of some of their members and their caucus to cut Social Security. And Marjorie Taylor Greene and others stood up and said, liar, liar. I remind you that Rick Scott from Florida, the guy who ran the U.S. Senate campaign, has a plan. He says all federal legislation sunsets every 5 years. If the law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
Man's right.
Again, March 27th, 2022. That's when Rick Scott was on Fox News. And here
You got to turn everything into just.
there's Ron Johnson, who ran against African-American Democrat Mandela Barnes, who lost by 26,000 votes, who should have won that election, but they used the Southern strategy. They used ads that were racist, and you have to respond to racist ads by saying there's one race, the human race, we're all human. Everyone wants to have life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Everyone is against crime. Everyone is in favor of excellent education, helping all people everywhere. And here he wanted to, I think, Ron Johnson was what, once a year to evaluate Social Security, all those type of things. So in other programs, it's just turn everything into discretionary spending, so it's all evaluated. And you had your older white people in Wisconsin voting in favor of him, who wanted to sunset their Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all of ours. But I'm just saying, for those particular people who were voting, who either didn't understand or, because of Southern strategy, voted against their own economic interests. And so the point that President Biden's making now, excellent point, all the Democrats should have made back on March 27, 2022. This is from what? August 2nd, 2022. Thank you for being my YouTube channel, One Race, Human Race, All Human, Instagram page, and TikTok channel.
Discretionary spending, so it's all evaluated.
The wealthier people are going to have to take a little less in benefits. Younger people living longer, so we're going to have to adjust the age probably once again.
We can work on prioritizing defense spending, but that's really nibbling around the margins. Okay. If we really want to talk about the debt and spending, it's the entitlements program.
Okay.
That was 6 weeks.
That was from January 9th, 2023. And by the way, Democrats seem to respond by saying when the Republicans are in power, they what? They increase the debt. And President Biden made a great point about how his predecessor increased the debt, right? Greatly. He got some jeers there too, but hey, it happened. And Democrats, lower the national debt and bring that home over and over again so the American public understands the truth. Yeah.
Ago. It seemed, a month ago. That was a month ago. What's more, last year, the Republican Study Committee in the House, again, I'm not making this up, I'm just telling you the facts, that's made up of more than 150 members, put out an official budget proposal, not talking off the cuff, not on Steve Bannon's podcast, right? A proposal that someone had to draft, and again, print out, put on a website, that would raise the retirement age to 70. No one made them do that. This is what they want to do. It is rare a president gets to score actual political points during a State of the Union address, which is why Biden seems to have found a new favorite attack line.
They seem shocked when I raised the plans of some of their members and their caucus to cut Social Security. And Marjorie Taylor Greene and others stood up and said, liar, liar. I remind you that Rick Scott from Florida, the guy who ran the U.S. Senate campaign, has a plan. He says all federal legislation sunsets every 5 years. If the law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
Man's right, whether Republicans want to admit it or not.
Republican plan.